This is a HeadGum podcast.
Hello, welcome to Fake the Nation, where we talk about news, we talk about culture, and where we have to add another scandal to the Emilia Perez movie controversy. You guys, I am your host, Negin Farsad, and we talked about Emilia Perez having representation in Bad Spanish scandal a few weeks ago. But it turns out they also have an old tweets be racist scandal because the lead actress does or did have shitty ideas. So that one movie, like the Trump administration, can't stop making news. Today, we won't talk about that movie, but we'll talk about the Elon engine running the Trump shitosphere. We'll also talk about what straight men want according to the matchmakers that find them partners, and we'll look at Hollywood's lady problem by the numbers. And finally, we'll ask, why don't people dress up to go out anymore? Today, oh my gosh, I am joined by such a delightful panel returning to the show. You know her, you love her. She's a comedian who I've had the pleasure of working with, and I've seen her crush in live spaces around the city. She's also the host of the podcast, the Lady Journey podcast, which you should be subscribing to. It is the wonderful Katie Hannigan. Hey, Katie.
Hello. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
I am also joined by this gentleman. Is here representing the Working Families Party. He's the national director, in fact, of the Working Families Party. I have voted on the Working Families Party line a gajillion times in my voting career. Not to brag, okay, but it is a part of my notion of democracy here in New York City. It is the excellent Maurice Mitchell. Hey, Maurice.
Hey, it's so good to be with you.
Now, before we get to the show, I just want to remind listeners they can support the show by going to patreon.com/Negin Farsad. You know the old drill there. But the other thing I wanted to ask listeners to do is to fill out our survey because it helps us know more about you, about what animates you, and it helps us get the right sponsors. Sponsors really love having that data, and basically it just really helps me out. It really just helps me out. So you can go fill out our survey. It's really quick. I did it. It's so fast. It's gumball.fm/fakethenation. And again, that's gumball.fm/fakethenation. I would be so honored if you guys just took a quick minute to fill out the survey and tell us more about yourself so that we can make the sponsorship for this show more tailor-made for you guys. Because you guys are great. All right, here we go. Let's get into it with topic number 1. Recently, a group of matchmakers dished in the pages of the Daily Mail about how straight male clients make ridiculous and often absurdly specific requests about their future dating partners, including where they got their undergrad. They want to, for example, someone wanted to find someone who looked exactly like a particular dancer they once saw at a particular club. They want their body count, their particular bra size. According to one matchmaker, quote, their expectations are out of line with reality. Were you surprised, Katie, by the level of specificity that these matchmakers were getting from their clients?
I have to say, not at all, because you think the type of guy that is doing well enough to afford a matchmaker, but is also not in a relationship, something's going on there.
Right.
Something's going on. And I think, we're seeing a lot of, I see this from my main news source, which is TikTok, is that many women now are staying single into their 30s, into their 40s, because they're saying, I'm in a position of being financially independent. I don't need to settle for a man so I can open a credit card. It's not 1972. And so I'm just choosing to stay single because I don't want to settle. And that is driving these other guys nuts. They probably... The woman that you do want, who has a B cup and went to Duke and blah blah blah, isn't settling for you because you're nuts. You're a nutso.
What do you think, Maurice?
I'm representing the straight men on behalf of the straight male delegation. You should look at my algorithm, right? Like I'm not surprised, right? So. So many men, especially young men, are learning about attitudes, are priming their desires based on what they're getting from social media. and based on what they might be getting from the manosphere, who are like setting expectations about like what women want and what you deserve and all these other things, and like learning about sexuality from our peers and maybe from porn. And so like it's unsurprising that we have been primed to have expectations that don't actually fit base reality, but have been like tailored by all of this content that is being like given to us, like that suggests like we're perfect, everybody else is the problem, you deserve everything in the world, and your mate should be catering to all of these needs. And then you go out in the world, and the world is like a very hard and complicated place that isn't the algorithm. So I'm not surprised that these men, or any men, are having problems meeting their expectations in the real world. It's like our expectations are primed by social media.
Yeah.
So right. So what is the algorithm? I mean, yeah. Explain to me more about how the expectation is being set. Like, what is happening in the algorithm that is creating this expectation?
Is it dating is buying a Tesla? How's that? What is this pipeline?
Yeah. I mean, the pipeline is severe because like I'm getting that content. I'm getting content that paints dating as a zero-sum game where it's like you're either getting played or you are dominating the dating game, and gamifies it and treats it like any other hustle, right? That you have to like master and dominate. And here are like the 5 ways that you like, there's like all of these like pickup artists that are like, this is how you open a conversation. And then there's like huge podcast of dudes who are dunking on women and basically saying like, women are out here to play you, and your job is to find a docile woman that will like meet all your needs, and society and feminism are like out to get you. And so it's like priming men to kind of like have very, very unhealthy ways of thinking about how to relate to humans in general. Like, and if you imagine like you are in a position to pay for a matchmaker, you're probably like, you want companionship, and you're lonely, and and you're probably seeking a lot of validation and understanding and belonging from sources like the manosphere. And you probably think of these people like your bros, and you look up to them, and if they're telling you like this is how you approach dating, then that's how you're going to approach dating. And I think that unfortunately is what's happening to a lot of these guys. They're like, and there's a lot of people who are profiting from it, and it's not them, and it's not unfortunately the women that they interact with.
Yeah, first of all, I love this because this is, I think, a little note for the matchmakers, a little like what to do about these clients, is they have to go on a podcast and social media detox for at least like a month before they start working with them.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And can I just tell you guys that the only reason this is, I mean, first of all, that all of Maurice's comments are like gave me that idea. The other thing that gave me that idea is that myself, now I am not a straight male client of a matchmaker. However, I am on currently an opinions detox. So I'm like not listening to podcasts for 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I'm not like, and I'm trying not to like look at my social, I'm just like posting on social media, but I'm not looking because I don't want anyone's opinions. I'm very tired of everyone's opinions.
Yes.
And I think they're like unhealthy for me. I mean, I know I'm literally sitting here in a podcast giving opinions, but I feel, and there's some things that like I can listen to and I don't feel like they, get me upset. Or if they're very like validating things I already think, I don't want any of it. I don't want anyone to validate my feelings. I don't want anyone to like disrupt my feelings. I just want an opinion-free zone for a while and see if it helps me with my just general health.
Yeah, because sometimes when you read too many opinions, you don't know what your own opinion is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, I think that. And you're like, wait, now I think this.
Or then also that you I sort of started to realize like, oh, I kind of think that half the people that I listen to are like maybe assholes, you know? Like just sort of suddenly, like it's possible that some of these people are assholes. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
I can't. I just don't want any voices in my head. And
Mhm.
I think part of the thing is, especially with these lonely guys, is they don't want to be alone with themselves, which I get. I don't want to be alone with
You have to
myself.
sit
I've
with
had
yourself.
that issue.
Yeah.
But you have to sit with yourself, right? And like, you know, and start thinking less about cup size,
Yeah.
right? And more about how you can maybe be a great companion on a date.
Yes. Yeah. You need to put yourself in it too.
Yeah.
I just find it interesting that these guys are treating dating, it's a kind of a dating problem of late stage capitalism, where it's like, I will buy what I want, I will get what I want, and if I don't get it, then I'm going to keep looking for it. And it's like, it's just a completely different dynamic. You're not going to the store and picking out a woman that you want. You're trying to have someone not divorce you.
Right.
Yeah.
Different skill set.
Companionship is not yogurt. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I'm always like, I'm always telling certain of my dude friends, just like, well, why don't you think about what she wants?
Right. What are
Like,
you
I find
bringing to the
myself
table?
saying that line a lot.
Yes.
Well, have you thought about what she wants?
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so what she wants might not be about her cup size.
Yeah.
Or whatever, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? If you start like giving and I mean, it kind of works in every sense. Like if you start giving yourself over to your community and wondering what your community needs, as opposed to like what you know, ask not what you could do for your country, ask what you could do. Wait, what is it? Ask not what your country could do for you, ask what you
could do for your country. Yeah.
On a microcosm level, like for every dating situation.
Yes.
I feel like
Work on
Kennedy had a
thyself.
point. And Kennedy was talking to straight male clients of matchmakers, famously. All right. Well, let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsors, which, by the way, go to gumball.fm/fake the nation to fill out our survey so we know which sponsors you particularly want to hear from, folks. And when we come back, we'll get into some more stuff. And we are back. Now, okay. We're going to get into politics here on topic number 2. I realized something this week, which is that as distasteful and cruel as Trump is, Elon Musk is has that singular quality of being like distasteful and cruel, yes, but also just really annoying. Like I think is
cringe.
Yeah, he's so annoying. In addition to being distasteful and cruel, so he's also arrogant. Oh, it's my least favorite quality. It's my least favorite quality.
Truly.
By the way, talk about podcast detox. I that's the thing I think I needed to detox most is arrogance. People who think their ideas are great. That I feel sucks.
Yes.
Anyways, arrogance. Don't like it.
And desperate.
Yes.
And desperate. I mean, it's like in some ways it's really sad. Imagine being by far the richest person on the planet and so few people like you. Like, you know, I mean, I'm assuming one of the reasons why he aimed to be the richest person is that he thought that perhaps he might make him one of the more popular people. But like,
that's why I bought Twitter. It didn't work.
Well, by the way, I mean, I'm a comedian. Because of my because I wanted more love from my parents.
Absolutely, I get it. Hole in the heart.
Yeah,
hole in the heart.
And that didn't work. I mean, he could have talked to any comedian, and they would have told him whatever.
He could have avoided all of this if he
avoided all of this.
Yes.
Whatever your hobby was, you should have done that thing. You know. Okay, now seems to be hell-bent on getting rid of just like a lot of federal government without knowing how it works, which is the fun part.
Amazing.
Okay. And it's not about efficiency because the decisions are made so hastily that they often have to backtrack and retread the same ground, which is inefficient. It's what's happened with, for example, the mass cuts made to agencies that oversee, let's say, nuclear weaponry. Right? They realize that, oh my God, we actually need some people that know what they're doing. And they tried to rehire some of those people without having already deleted a lot of their contact information. So stupid. Anyways, it's not about maximal revenue and minimal spending because the money making arms of the government, like the IRS, are being hacked away at, which leads to reduced revenue. That doesn't make sense, just in terms of like being good, be fiscally savvy. So it's not about fiscally savvy, it's not about efficiency. So Mo, we really wanted to hear you weigh in on this. Again, you're the national political director of the Working Families Party. You know a thing or two about a thing or two. So can you first give us a sense of the scope of what Musk is doing, and to what degree is it penetrating the mainstream? And that's a big question I have.
Yeah, so he's doing a lot, but the thing that I want to remind people of is like it's not that complicated. It's like a smash and grab robbery. That's like what's taking place, right?
Okay.
So hastily destroying things, futzing around to see what a value you could take from it. And also the other thing is like his corporations do a lot of business with the federal government. So he makes a lot of money from federal contracts, and also the scrutiny that comes with all of those contracts could be a little uncomfortable. So being able to like make money from the federal government and also run it and fire the people who would scrutinize your contracts is like a really good deal. And so when people try to understand like, well, why is he doing this? Or like, well, he's already the richest person on the planet. Why would he be stealing from us? Number one, that's because you're not a psychopath and you're a regular person. And so it's hard to understand like what would make somebody want to do this. But the way that he became the richest person on earth is through theft, is through stealing other people's ideas and profiting off of it. And so having this opportunity to be able to essentially like decide who gets to stay or go in the federal government is one of the most lucrative positions you could possibly be in. So that's the why. And in terms of like, is it penetrating? Yes, the hurt is hitting a lot of people, and it's not just hitting random federal employees. These people actually make the government function and make the services that we all depend on happen. And so, yeah, if you are a parent and you rely on Head Start, and that's a vital service for you, that's the federal government. If you're a farmer and you rely on federal subsidies, right, to allow your farm to even run, that's the federal government. So there's a lot of people who voted for Trump, right? There was a clip of a farmer in Missouri who was like, yeah, I voted for Trump, and I might lose my farm because I can't get any of the money from the Inflation Reduction Act that was promised to me, right? That's hitting those people right now. And so what's happening every single day, every single week, these policies are becoming more and more unpopular as regular people begin to feel it. And, today, there are actions all around the country of a lot of these, federal employees, people who like make the I have to like, whenever I say federal employees, I have to say what they do, because people are just kind of like, oh, these bureaucrats, they make the services that we depend on actually happen. Them and a lot of other people are protesting around the country. And there's been waves of protests that have been taking place. And the movement is growing. And it's not just like egghead liberals who watch MSNBC every single day. It's like regular people who are, really, really concerned and feel like people who live in rural country who depend on their public schools. Like it's funny, like when you're taking a jackhammer to the federal government and those resources, it's the quote unquote red states and rural communities that get hit the hardest because they rely more on federal grants and aid and things like money to their public schools. So when that hits, what I anticipate is more and more people, including people who voted for Trump, are going to say like, yeah, we didn't vote for that. We voted for the price of eggs going down. Mind you, the price of eggs aren't going down. Inflation is going up. And as that happens, more and more people are going to be like, oh, this is actually a grift. So that's what I'm seeing. And I think, our movement is just gearing up. And I know I'm talking to people, everyday folks who are like, what the hell is happening, right? Either I voted for Kamala and I understood the assignment, or I didn't vote, or I voted for Trump, but I thought he was gonna like break the establishment and lower my prices, and none of that's happening.
I mean, are they do you think his voters are happy that just things are happening, so they don't feel the pain yet? It's still month one.
Yeah.
Maybe, they maybe there's a farmer in Missouri or two that's like really dependent on singular payments, and so they're upset. But like in a wider sense, they're not going to feel the pain for a minute, right?
Well,
are they just like impressed that so many things are happening?
Right. Or like in conjunction with the tariffs too. Like, when is the shit gonna hit the fan? That's what I'm wondering.
Oh yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And do you have all of the answers?
Yeah, how many beans should I be storing in my home?
Well, they're definitely like the whole flood the zone thing is like, let's do as much harm as quickly as possible before the press could report on it, before the courts could stop it, because a lot of this stuff is illegal to begin with, and before the people realize the pain. Like, that's what they're trying to do. And what we've noticed, like, the opinion polls had Trump pretty high. Like, most presidents get a, kind of like a honeymoon period, right?
Yeah.
But they're quickly coming down. So that's showing that the whole like flood the zone thing has a very short half-life. It's quickly coming down because, like, yeah, there's a segment of people who are fascinated by looking at the chaos, and it almost like the chaos in itself is a spectacle. Absolutely. And some people have said, like, oh, his presidency is very energetic because they're doing a lot of things and passing a lot of executive orders. But what we're seeing is a stark decline. We're seeing like a lot of the young people, even like the young men who were with him, like they're beginning to swing in a different direction and asking basic questions because, yeah, this stuff is chaotic. It's making no sense. They're like claiming that aid to Gaza in Palestine is actually aid to a place called Gaza in Mozambique. They're claiming they're cutting like $8 billion. Their cuts led to $8 million. They can't even do basic math. So it's like legitimate questions are beginning to be raised. And as like, there's communities that their main bread and butter are federal jobs, not just like in the DC area, not just like a bunch of like random faceless bureaucrats in and around DC. There's places in Alabama that depend heavily on federal contracts, are heavily federal employees. They're like, hey, like, we voted for you. What's going on here? And so more and more of that happens on the daily. And so what I anticipate is a dramatic shift in popular opinion when people realize, like, this is just chaos and none of this makes any sense. And, Elon Musk shouldn't be futzing around with my social security number and me and my grandma's like financial data like that. And him and like a half dozen late teens shouldn't be like, futzing around from government, government department to government department, looking at all our stuff. Like, regular everyday people who aren't necessarily primed to dislike Trump are beginning to ask those questions.
I love that. I mean, I love that. And I wonder, so Katie, you and I are comedians and know a lot of the kind of comic podcasts of the manosphere.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think that like this kind of stuff would break through to those guys and like start like bursting their bubble about what they've promoted? Because the other thing is, we're not even talking about like the self-dealing, right? The like how many federal contracts Elon Musk has that he now is also in charge of or adjacent in charge of, then renewing for himself, right?
Right.
Essentially, with Starlink and with with the space shuttles and all that stuff, it's like he has a lot. Cyber trucks are suddenly going to be deployed, be retrofitted for military use or whatever. Because by the way, that's not how they were designed. So there has to be a whole retrofit that happens to them so that they can be used for military use.
SpaceX is the budget of SpaceX. It's so much more than NASA.
Exactly.
It's taken over for NASA,
exactly.
basically.
So, like, do you think those guys think this stuff is just cool? Or, like, what would penetrate that world?
I hope that something does penetrate. I hope there is a moment where people are like, this is unreasonable. But I have to say, I think a lot of these this type of person who really gets off on like owning the libs.
Right.
Like they feed off of this show, which is part of what I think Trump and Elon Musk are doing. They're putting on a show of like being the disruptors, and there's a market for that. And I think that these people are willing to feed off of that in order to live in an echo chamber without having, I'm a red pillar. I don't need to like examine where any of this is under the surface because I think for myself and I do my own research on YouTube.
Right.
So I think that they kind of get off, and I'm wondering if it's going to be just a stronger contingent of these free thinkers.
But can I ask you a question about that? Because like, there's certain things that they do that I'm like, this should disturb the conscience. Like, all right, so government corruption, but like Elon Musk cheats on video games.
Right.
What type of a psychopath does that? That's just,
Right.
and I'm like, if you're one of those dudes, like, how do you contend with that? Or like the Trump coin, like he created like some weird crypto meme coin, and he just did one of those like meme coin tugs, and he just made a bunch of money from his followers, and a bunch of people are like,
and they don't care.
A bunch of money from his followers, and a bunch of money from we don't know where. Right. Could foreign countries be buying, meme coin and telling the Trump family like, oh, look at what I bought? Like, there's no. This is not like. That's the thing. This is the use. The use case for crypto is that we can't tell what's happening with it.
Yeah, it could be money laundering,
and it could be just straight up.
Yeah,
a method of bribery that is direct. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It used to be that the hotel. Like, do you guys remember when in the first round people would stay at the hotel? All the foreign governments would like stay at the hotel,
right?
Stuff.
Yeah.
Trump International Hotel. This is the hotel, but on steroids. And we can't track it. At least, like with the hotel, we could track it.
Because here's the thing: like when I go on X from time to time, every now and then I pop back on there, and my feed is always Elon Musk saying something heinous in a way that's both ridiculous and also cringy. That's kind of his whole brand.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? You look under whatever his bombastic, bizarre statement is, and there are dude bros commenting, yep. There's no. It's like who's home? What's going on in there? Is there any type of is there any grasp that what he's saying is not in reality? And I don't know. Like, who's the person that's commenting in support of Elon Musk's random tweet? I don't know that they have access to the logic that this situation demands.
Yeah.
And that's my concern.
At the end of the day, you can't trust somebody who willfully cheats on video games with just about anything.
Right.
Let's talk quickly about the Eric Adams situation, because this is another one of those really fun. The Trump administration offered Adams a deal, not a pardon, but a reprieve from his corruption case with the expectation that Adams do Trump's bidding in the meantime. They left the door open to keep this investigation going at a later date should Adams not comply. I mean, I'm like adding a little something there, but that's essentially what the memo said. I mean, I'm not adding much, right?
Nope.
Which is, so it's obvious quid pro quo. Governor Hochul is weighing whether to remove Adams as mayor, which she has the power to do. I guess I don't, you're in New York. Maurice, are you in New York?
Yeah.
Okay, so the three of us are in New York. I mean, where are we on what should be done here?
Yeah.
I mean, now this is also like, this is New York City, the jewel of the country, the biggest city.
Oh,
we should be a beacon. We should be exemplars. We should have this is embarrassing and ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you saw Mayor Adams getting dog walked by the Secretary of Homeland Security on Fox News, but it's embarrassing at this point. And he's been compromised, and he has to go. He's been so compromised that like at the end of the day, he's focusing on staying out of prison. And that
Yeah.
is his primary objective, not protecting the citizens and the residents of New York City. That's his only job as mayor. He cannot do that job because his only purpose is to stay out of prison and therefore basically do the bidding of the Trump administration. And so like, he has to go. And Jumaane Williams, like, you know, if he's removed, Jumaane Williams, who's the public advocate and a WFP candidate, will take on the role of mayor. And we just need like a mayor that is free from scandal, that will just focus on the job of running the city.
Yeah, agreed. And it isn't, and it just isn't beholden to Trump. And also, like, it's so, I mean, if they had dismissed the case entirely, that would have even been more, we could have had a slightly more ethical outcome, because, you know, Adams could have been like, okay, well, I have a pardon, I can do whatever. Like,
Right,
you know,
right. It's not.
This we can reopen the case business is so obvious.
Yes.
It just, that's the big problem. I mean, I don't. Do you want Hochul to remove? What do you want?
I would say we have to just remove at this point. I mean, look, I love a vacation. I love a free vacation. I love a free vacation as much as the next person. But, you know, I did go in a full rabbit hole during the allegations. And it's like, we have to follow the rules. We all just have to follow the rules. Yeah. And you crossed a line big time. But I have to say, too, he's just got to go because, you know, there was all that talk when he was running, I remember, of like, well, he was a registered Republican. He's a secret house in New Jersey, whatever. And it's like,
he's
this is
too many little things
playing into his plan of like, oh, well, now I have to do Republican stuff because of, you know, It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Gotta go at
We're
this
not
point.
into it
He's
anymore.
gotta go.
This is embarrassing. Thank
He's gotta
God.
go.
Thank God it's an election year. Okay. Let us move on to topic number 3. By the way, before moving on, I just want to say, like, there's so many things, because we didn't even talk about like the Ukraine thing, which is still feels too in process to like fully talk about. But obviously, like, he's having like side chats with Putin, not including Ukraine, all that stuff. There's so many things to talk about in a sitting. I can't even pretend like we scratched the surface, but anyways, we did scratch some surface. I don't know if it's the surface.
Yeah,
all right.
We just the back.
Yeah.
Some surface remains to be scratched. Yes.
All right, folks, let us move on to topic number 3. So for Valentine's Day, me and my husband, we got an early dinner at a mid-level place, not fancy, but still a little nice. And it was Valentine's Day, so we made an effort to look good. At the restaurant, about 80% of the people there also made an effort to look good, but 20% of the people looked heinous. Just that we're wearing athleisure and shitty couch lounging outfits, and you know, and then of course Andrew sends me this piece that asks the question, why don't people dress up to go out anymore in the Times? And it hit me hard because I saw it right after having this dinner, and I was just like, oh, why don't they? Why don't they? Now, you can judge from the way I'm phrasing this that I am like, let's all dress up type of person. But I don't know. What do you think, Katie, is happening here?
You know, I had a similar experience recently. I performed this weekend in Denver, and people were dressed up for Valentine's Day. Is a dress up holiday. It's a date night. And I caught a glimpse of someone heading back to their seat. They must have been at the bar or something, and they were in sweatpants. And I just thought, you know, it's a comedy show. I don't want to see the outline of your form.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm a person, I feel like jeans, I'm fine with jeans, wear jeans, but try to dress it up a little bit. It's really wild how casual things are going, and it just feels like it's a symptom of the deterioration of our society. The late stage capitalism is hitting us hard, and I find it wild. And again, I'm not a person like, you know, you have a lovely pair of slacks on. Like, I'm not even going that far, but I have a necklace, you know, I'm doing a no makeup look. And yeah, I also find it very, it's disturbing.
It's disturbing. Maurice, what do you think is going on?
Yeah, I mean, look, we all lived through COVID and I think are still just a little broken inside. And,
Yes.
I think from still processing whatever the hell that was, right? Like millions of people died, like more than a million in this country over a short period of time. And then we're watching the deterioration of like global democracy. Like, I think, I have a lot of compassion for people. I think people are just trying to find the little comfort and control that they have. I can control what I wear, and the feeling of sweats are comfortable on my skin. And
Yes.
I think that that's what's happening. And like, I love dressing up, and like one of the beautiful things about having control over what you wear is that even if you don't have a lot of money, working people could make themselves look beautiful. And, in some ways it's a F you to the powers that be or your bosses or whatever. I'm still going to be fly. And so I love when we take the time to beautify ourselves and adorn ourselves. And I get why people are having a hard time caring anymore, because we're all a little broken inside. And so I have a lot of compassion for it. And like, yeah, I want us to like not look at beautifying ourselves as being a luxury. Like, everyday people deserve to be beautiful. And I do want to figure out how to reclaim that. And also I get it. It's rough out here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. My bladder's never been the same since COVID. I can't hold it for an hour.
Oh, okay. So the piece that we read kind of took it back to the 1960s, when people this started in the 1960s, because before that there was pretty much a strict dress code for like different aspects of life. You wore hats. Remember hats?
Mhm.
Right.
Like, remember, and like gloves. I remember I watched this the Truman Capote FX show. I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, The Swans.
The Swans.
Oh, I loved it.
There's a scene in The Swans, I don't know if you remember it, where the lady, the swans in question, go into like
it's like a hair
Bloomingdale's
parlor
or something.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Where's the glove section?" And they're like, "We don't." And this would be the early '80s, I guess, the late '70s. And they're like, "We don't have a glove section anymore. People don't buy gloves." And I was like, "Oh my God, there used to be a glove section."
Yes.
I mean, I would love to adorn my hands with a glove.
Oh my goodness.
On a regular mild day, just for the fashion of it, for literally no other reason. That sounds delightful. And we don't, so that started in the 60s, when people began questioning norms and conventions. And then over time, in the 70s, and the bell bottoms and the hair and the whatever, like everything started to be like, no, you can have more individualism than that. And I understand the lure of individualism.
Yes.
I also think we have taken it too far, in that, like, we're not thinking about the greater good,
Right.
And it seems like respecting a performance, a comedy show, respecting the comedians on the stage with an outfit that doesn't showcase genitalia shape.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Is like a sign of that. Like, we're not doing that anymore. And also this idea of like looking beautiful no matter what station you are in life.
Yes, I love that. That's
I love that
very
too.
special.
Because what's happened, I think, the expressions of the 60s and 70s and 80s, and even, I mean, the grunge era is really the beginning of the
end,
physical end. Yeah. But because that was not pretty. Like, it was definitely non-beautiful.
Yes.
And I get, but I mean, whatever, I get it. But the 60s, 70s, 80s, that there was an expression that was happening that felt artistic.
Yes.
And now I don't know where in athleisure is the artistry.
Right. Well, I think it's also one branch on the tree that is our kind of our modern identity dysfunction,
Mm.
because there's also the people that are buying 1,000 articles of clothing from Shine and wearing the micro
Right.
trends.
Mhm.
And that seems like kind of at the opposite end of the spectrum, where I feel like my personal path is I like to have nice pieces that look good on me, but not an overabundance.
Right.
You know, and I feel like that's what everyone should be doing.
Tell us about your wedding goal.
Oh, so for my upcoming wedding, I have bought nothing new. Everything is secondhand for my wedding. And I did it, number one, to be eco, but number two, because I think that there's just too much, it's a buyer's market when it comes to secondhand pieces for the wedding. Everyone's selling, I got my dress secondhand, my shoes secondhand, everything. And I've saved a lot of money. And also, there's no reason. There's no reason
Yeah.
to go.
Which is what I don't understand about. So if if everyone's buying everything from Temu and Shane and whatever,
Yeah.
why am I not seeing cute outfits on the streets? It is
Yeah.
a weird like dichotomy, because
Mhm.
it does feel like everyone is both incredibly casual at everything and at the same time consuming a shit ton.
Yes.
So it's like it just doesn't
Right.
it doesn't make sense. I don't get it, because I'm not seeing maybe they're buying things that look awful.
Or they're buying it and they're just keeping it in their closet.
Buying it and warehousing it. Like
Yeah.
once you get the dopamine rush of making the purchase, that was the point.
Yes.
Right. And then actually putting it on is not the point. It's so I do think there's something about it that's so like me, my comfort, me,
Yeah.
and
You-
it doesn't, and you go to, I mean, I spend a lot of time in airports, I'm sure, as you
Yes.
do.
I mean, people really abuse it at the airport.
airport
I mean, full
is-
on, as though you woke up from your bed,
Yeah.
Oh my God.
like a pajama.
People throw out every single convention once they enter an airport. So the thing that drives me crazy
Yeah.
is that the airplane bathroom is a public restroom, but there's like a whole crew of people who walk into the airplane bathroom with socks on or bare feet, and like,
Yeah.
I'm like, just because we're like in the air doesn't make that not a public restroom.
Yeah. It's
Like,
not even
what
a
is-
public restroom. It's a porta potty.
Oh
It's
my
a sky porta potty.
It is one of the most disturbing things ever.
Yes.
I see it all the time.
Yeah, we need decorum. We need decorum at the airport, because that's all we have. It's society just breaks down. And it's, to go from the last shred of dignity is to go from the sweatpants to the pajamas, the full on sleepwear. You're not even lounging now. It's as though I'm in your home.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be there.
Maurice, I have this weird recurring nightmare that I think you'll appreciate. It's so weird, but it's a weird recurring nightmare that I am walking barefoot into a public bathroom.
Oh, God.
I know.
It's terrifying.
Also, why do I have this weird reoccurring nightmare? I don't understand it, but also I mean, it's been many times, this one nightmare, and it's funny because it's like I'm not being murdered. Like, it's not that scary. I mean, it's like
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
chilling about your psyche. Yeah.
It's so
What
gross.
does the
It's so
What
gross.
does the public bathroom represent here? Like, what is
I know what. It's so strange. Yeah, so I think we're all, I also just think I used to love seeing, when I go out at night to do stand up,
Mhm.
and I come home as people are going out to
I
get
love
drunk.
that. Yeah,
So,
and you
like, yeah,
see the
And you see the
outfits.
girl and the ladies, and look, half of them are still going for it.
Yeah,
You
there's a
know
lot
what
of
I
black
mean?
leather out there right now. A lot of leather pants.
like some great cleavage.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Love it. Let's see
Absolutely support it.
it. But I'll also see some ladies, and I'm like, you're wearing yoga pants. That's unacceptable.
Right.
It's Friday night. What?
It's-
Get it together.
Right.
I'm going home to go to sleep, and I expected a show.
Yes.
To see.
Yeah.
Right before I arrive at my apartment, I wanted to walk by a ton of bars and see a bunch of kids looking hot, and I am not seeing enough kids looking hot. So this is a problem. So I guess in closing, guys, for me please look hot when you go out.
Understand the assignment.
Understand the assignment. Thank you. Okay. All right, my friends. That is the end of the show. What a fabulous panel the two of you make. Thank you so much for joining Fake the Nation. I want the people of our audience to be able to follow you and all the wonderful things that you do. Maurice, where do they do that?
Oh, on all the socials owned by all the techno fascists. They could find me at Maurice WFP. And also, if they want to follow Working Families Party, they could find Working Families at Working Families.
At Working Families, guys. By the way, follow Maurice, and also, you know, in New York City, we've had Working Families Party as a line that you can vote on, and I've been voting for my Democratic candidates on the Working Families Party line for many years now, and so, anyways, just look into that.
Indeed.
Katie, where do they find you?
I'm at Katie Hannigan forever on all social media, and I also have a podcast called Lady Journey, where we talk about the journeys that we all go on as women or people who embody feminism in any way. So it's not necessarily gender specific, but please check it out. Lady Journey.
Folks, please check it out. It's such a good podcast. And also check out Katie as she does stand up in a town near you. She's so funny. And also, you know where to find me and all the things that I do. Just a reminder to go to gumball.fm/fakethenation if you don't mind, for just a quick survey that helps us. It helps us, it helps the show. So thank you so much for doing that. gumball.fm/fakethenation. I want to thank everyone who makes this show a possibility. That's our wonderful producer, Andrew McGuire. Thanks to everyone at HeadGum. Thanks to Gaby Alter for our theme music. You can reach us at fakethenationpodcast@gmail.com. And otherwise, we'll be back in your earballs next week.
That was a HeadGum podcast.